Hello, everyone. It's good to see everyone today. Thank you for that. Yes, as my introduction was said, um, I have quite a few years in the fashion industry. But just to give a short background about myself, I was brought up in a one-parent family, and I am one of three children. Um, From a young age, I really love fashion. From the age of 9, actually, my grandfather bought me my first Singer sewing machine. And at any chance possible, I would be sewing, and I wouldn't use patterns. I used to do freehand pattern cutting. So that would be just getting the fabric and cutting it as and when I needed to, and just sewing the garment. They were really rough, but for me, it was my first um, my first chance of designing and wearing my own or showcasing my own clothes. I used to always customize clothes as well, so my mum would always be telling me off because I'd be taking her dresses, taking her tops, customizing them, wearing them, and she would only know when she's actually looking for the item. So a lot of the time in my household, mum would be shouting, "Jenny, where's the dress? Jenny, where's the top?" Jenny was my nickname. Anyway, I went to the London Westminster College in Battersea, where I studied a BTEC first and a BTEC National in fashion design and theatre, where I did really well. I was good at fashion illustration, and I was really good at like drawing as well, drawing like arty stuff, and really good at sewing. From the Westminster College in Battersea, I finished there with 13 distinctions and 17 merits. I don't know if you still use that now. Do you use that now, or is it A's and B's? I don't even know what the terminology is now. Anyway, that was quite high. So from there, I actually applied for the London College of Fashion, where I'd done a BA Honours in product development for the fashion industry. And I believe at the time, my form tutor was Keith Gower. I'm not sure if he's still here. No? No, it doesn't matter. Anyway, the course was really good. It was a 4-year sandwich course, and it entailed everything from design, pattern cutting, garment technology, and fashion production. And that was just to name a few of the subjects that was available. However, whilst doing the course, I fell pregnant, and I had to take a year out to have my baby son, but that didn't deter me, that didn't stop me. I came back the following year to complete my course, in which I did. Anyway, moving on, I graduated and had the world as my oyster. Because my degree covered so many areas in fashion, I was quite spoilt for choice. I could choose from design, buying, merchandising, product development, and factory production, just to name a few. However, whilst looking for a job and keeping my options open, I came across a job titled Garment Technologist. And as I heard Rochelle say, "How many of you know?" And I saw a few hands put up. How many of you know? Oh, excellent. However, French Connection was advertising for a junior garment technologist. So I applied for the position and I got the job. I was like, yes, I've got a job in fashion, yes. Anyway, many of you may be thinking, what is a garment technologist? So I am in control of the slide. So basically, a garment technologist works very closely with the designer and the buyer. So many of you might be thinking, why is that? So a lot of the time, you'll get designers that know how to create a beautiful creation, but don't so much know about construction or about how fabrics work with certain styles, and even about fabric testings and the performance of the fabrics, etc., etc. So they get someone like me as a garment technologist to come in and just to be the middle person between the design person, myself, and the buying team. Also, I give technical advice on design, fabric, construction, and fit. What does that actually mean? So that actually means that, well, if I give you a little example, you might have, especially in high street brands, you have something called entry points, mid points, and high points. And within those different points, if I'm designing a garment that is entry point, that is your lowest point, that then means that I can't have something like French seams, because that's going to be really expensive in production. So it's my job to then say, no, you've just got to have a normal seam in that with just an overlocked edge. It's my job to ensure that for each entry point, I am actually giving the best advice so that they can get the best, or be able to get that garment made up for the best cost possible. Also, I liaise with manufacturers and do factory audits. So I've traveled to India, Turkey, Portugal, Japan, you name it, I've traveled to see quite a few factories. Whereas, for example, if we've got a lot of, or maybe might be having a bit of difficulty with manufacturers, they'll send me out there to just go and see what the problem is. And sometimes it's good to be able to put a name to a face. So being able to go abroad, meet the people that you're on the phone to, who you're emailing all the time, and just being able to see where the loopholes are in regards to what the problems may be. Also, factory audits, that's just making sure that, you know, they have a needle damage policy, and there's different things in place ensuring that the factory is running smoothly, especially in regards to child labor and stuff like that, which is really, really important. Ensuring that the supplier complied to the company standards. So as you know, each company has its own standards. So it's up to me to ensure that when each garment is designed, we're applying to the company standards. That might be minimum standards, which might be like for ASOS, for example, they don't have, their shortest midi dress should measure something like 98 centimeters from side neck point to hem. So I'm there with the designer making sure, because sometimes they'll be like, oh, I really like this dress to be a little bit shorter. However, when the girl bends over, you're going to see all her stuff exposed. So it's down to me to say, no, your minimum measures is 98 centimeters, and therefore that's what we've got to stick to. So I'm that kind of in-between person, making sure that everything is compliant from design to supplier to company standards. And the job can be really difficult at times, because obviously you've got your designers that have extremely creative heads, and then you've got me putting a bit of logic into that creative design, because to be honest, not all designs work. As many of you might know, you might have this beautiful creation and think, you know, in your head it's realistic, but when you're actually putting it into practice and being realistic with it, it doesn't actually work. And sometimes that happens a lot of the time, especially in regards to certain fabric types that are used or designers might use, and it might not be good fabric, especially in regards to high street brands. You know, they want to make sure it's cost effective, and that, you know, your customers are getting value for money. It's not like haute couture where you've got so much money and a bit more leverage in what you're spending on. Also, we do specification sheets for suppliers. What does that mean? So as you know, that many of you do design drawings, and on your design drawings, you'll have all the measurements of what the sleeve length should measure, what the chest, what the waist, what the hip should measure. That's just your design specification sheet. So that's something that I put together. Also, when the garment's being made, I'm the one that will give it to them, and when they send the garment back to me, I'm the one that might sometimes measure it to make sure that they've kept everything to specification. And then we fit garments on a standard size 10 model, which is easy, and then we test fabrics, ensuring they are REACH compliant. What does that mean? That just means that we ensure that they haven't got no azo dyes in them, or any chemical or any substance that will be of any harm to the skin or to our customers. So these are all the things that we have to do whilst being in garment technology. Also, in regards to testing fabrics, you know, we've had loads of incidences where, you know, we get issues with color transfer. So I remember when I was at Topshop, we had a beautiful white blouse which had a black embroidery. However, during air freight, because of the moisture, the black embroidery bled into the white fabric, and then all the embroidery created its own print on the white blouse. It was a nightmare, because you're talking about maybe 3,000 or 4,000 units of garments, which we then had to cancel the order and actually get a reimbursement from the supplier, because obviously they said it passed the test, because that's what they do sometimes, but it actually didn't, it had failed. So it's my job then to create an argument to say, well, this is what the test report is, and you said it passed, but in actual fact, in seeing the garment, it has failed. Also, we organise fit squads and fit days. What does that mean? So when you go into the shop and you're looking at a garment from whatever size, maybe from size 6 to size 20, we'll just get in real size models, as what we call them. They'll come into head office, and actually we'll choose our best-selling garments and fit them on each side to ensure that we're happy with how the style looks from a size 6 to maybe a size 18 or 20. So that's what a fit squad is. And then we also, once we've done all this work in regards to one style per style, we'll actually then have something which is called, you've got different stages. So you have your prototype garments, you have first fit garment, second fit garment, third fit garment, and then your production. So basically, at the point of approval, that means the production garment has come back to us, and then we have to fit it on a model to do the final approval before it goes into production. So that's the job of a garment technologist. It can be very, very challenging at times, especially when suppliers don't follow your specification sheets, or if they don't follow your comments, your fit comments. It can be very challenging, especially when they're saying that they've done what you've told them, but there's a problem in communication, and therefore it looks like you haven't done your job properly. Sometimes it can cause a lot of problems. And if it seems like the supplier is fighting back hard, sometimes we have to take a loss and actually say, well, okay, you lose 50% and we lose 50%. What else would I like to share with you? So basically, as Rochelle stated, that I've worked for quite a few high street brands. I decided from maybe 8 years ago or 7 years ago that I would go freelance, because I really liked the job I was in, but I wanted a bit more flexibility, meaning that I can take on contracts when I wanted to and leave contracts when I wanted to, and just have a little break in between, because sometimes it can be a bit full on. So I decided to do contract work, in which I did contract work for French Connection, for ASOS, for Topshop, for Reese, and for River Island. And because I am multi-product, so that means that I can work on most products in terms of tailoring, in terms of knitwear, outerwear, denim wear, etc., etc. A lot of companies really, or I'm quite sought after because of the fact that I do multi-product. So when I come into the business, I don't just work on one product type, I can work on many. So in terms of my freelance work, that went really, really well, where it got to the point where I was able to predict what kind of salary that I wanted to actually be on, and also be able to say to them what days I wanted to work. Now, in the fashion industry, working part-time is something that is very, very difficult because of the demands of the job. However, I was able to put my request forward to work maybe a 4-day or a 3-day week, because they wanted the service that I was willing to provide. Difficult times in regards to working as a garment technologist is sometimes you might just have some pretentious designers or even buyers that sometimes think they know, not in a bad way, but they know more than what you know in regards to garment technology. So you can butt heads at times. But my thing is to say to them that we're working together as a team. We're not working against each other. We're all trying to aim and get to the same goal. So, and just trying to be humorous in that environment, because it's a tough environment. And usually when I go into each company, because obviously I've been to many, and then I meet different personality types, I always try and be a bit humorous, but go in quite strong in regards to who I am and what I'm about, because I always think that when you put your first foot forward and go in to how you mean to go on, they don't kind of mess about with you too much. In working for all these companies, I gained lots of contacts and resources overseas and within the UK. More importantly, because I was sought after, as I said, I would negotiate my salary. This was great for me because obviously, as you know, I had my son, and by then I had my second son. So it was really good for me to be able to be more flexible with my time. Once I had started to freelance, I also got involved with some styling work, and I did a few editorials. That's the companies I work for, which I said before, so I'm ahead of myself. So this editorial that I had done, it was for a company called Shooting Beauty, and it was just basically based on French boudoir. I wanted to get into this kind of work, but I found it quite difficult, quite challenging, and to be fair, working for a lot of companies which didn't want to pay, they just wanted you to work through loyalties more than wanting you to pay. So because your work was in a magazine or whatever, they would pay you kind of peanuts rather than pay you for what you're actually worth. And then this is another one that I did, which was Lady of the Night. And obviously just this garment that I did here was just fabric which I draped on the model to create that white gown. As Rochelle had said, I've worked with good photographers, hairstylists, makeup artists, and models, and I did the Plus Size Fashion Weekend and the BBC Gospel Proms, as well as many private clients. This given me great opportunity to work also with PR departments for companies such as Debenhams, House of Fraser, Caroline Drapier, and Anna Scholes, just to name a few. So the nice thing about working in fashion, you can experiment, you can see what is the things that I like, what are the things that I don't really like, and really explore the field, because it is a bit more than design, which I know many of you must know. However, in doing all that I have done, I still had that heart's desire to do design. Just as I mentioned, from the age of 9, when I used to make my freehand patterns from the clothes and sew them myself, I thought, you know what, I'm going to actually do the thing that I was created to do from before, because sometimes in life, you can get caught up. You can get caught up with being comfortable, you can get caught up with, you know, just doing the same old, same old. However, I thought just last year, I decided, you know what, this is my time now for me to do the thing that I've been dreaming to do for so many years. So I decided last year to design my very own collection. And on Sunday, the 12th of February, this year, I launched or birthed my own women's wear collection. What made this possible, because all the resources and the supplies that I had worked with in retail or through high street brands was willing to still work with me, which was great. So I am now using manufacturers that work with ASOS, work with Topshop, work with French Connection, and usually, as many of you know, a lot of manufacturers will not touch up-and-coming designers because of the amount of units that we have per style. Our units are so small, whereas they would say to us, you know what, we can't touch you unless you've got at least 300 units going through our factory. However, because of the contacts that I've created over the years, I'm able to use manufacturers that produce good garments. Also, to say, it's just good to keep good connection, and realizing that in life, sometimes you might say to yourself, I'm not where I actually want to be. I'm not where I think I should be. That's what happens to us. Sometimes in life, we get ourselves in a muddle, whether it be. But I do believe that every experience that we go through, and every experience we go through, is part of the process. It's part of the bigger picture, per se. So had I not have gone through garment technology and worked with the high streets and the suppliers and the manufacturers, now when I'm ready to do the thing that I really want to do, how would that have been possible? Maybe there was another avenue, but for me, this is the direction that worked for me, and this is why I'm able to stand here today and tell you that Jeanette Young London has now been birthed. I also believe that exposure is everything, and it's important to network and connect yourself with the right people or companies that can help you develop or support your dream. Sometimes just intentionally position yourself so that you're in the right place at the right time, so that you can be noticed and you can be seen. And sometimes it's about going out beyond yourself Some people might not be good at being so social, but me, I'm a talker. I will talk to any and anyone because at the end of the day, you don't know who you're rubbing shoulders against, especially in this industry. And it's so small. Like, for example, I've worked for Topshop and Topshop have contacted me already. This will be my third time working there to say that they want me to start another contract with them on the 21st of March. The industry is so small, so it's important that you give yourself, be of integrity, and be a good example, but socialize. Make people know who you are and what you're about, because you are a brand. Each one of you in here is a brand. Whether you believe it or not, you are a brand, and it's up to you to sell your brand to the best of its ability, knowing who you are and what you're about. And it doesn't matter how you get there, and I'm not saying it in a negative way, but how you get there is not the point. The point is that you stay focused and you get there. That's what's really important. It is my desire to build a high-end, high-street brand with ready-to-wear garments, and this is the beginning of my mass production. I've always thought of doing haute couture. However, I've always seen myself with a big brand like Zara or Ted Baker and other stories. That's just where my heart's desire. I just love mass production. I want to do something that is big. Also to say that it's very important to be the authentic you. What I mean by that is just be real and stay focused. Whenever I enter into a company, I am myself. I don't conform, I don't adapt, I just be Jeanette. That is really important, that people can recognize and see you for who you really are. Because a lot of the time in the fashion industry, it can be quite forceful in regards to, being, some companies are good at trying to make you fit into a culture or a system of how they are, but it's important for you to stay true to who you are as a person. Hence, they employ you or they bring you on board because of who you are. However, when you enter into the company, dynamics change, and then you are then told to culturalize yourself to the environment that you're in. And okay, you do it to a certain extent, but don't change who you are. Very important. Stay true to who you are. And so I move on to say the launch of Jeanette Young London, 12th of February 2017. And this is my few pieces that I show here. And it's ready-to-wear garments. Very simple, but just with little statement pieces. And that's who she is. So Jeanette Young London, she's quite dramatic, if you can see the peplum hem jumpsuit. But she's quite subtle as well. So she's not over the top, but she likes little statement pieces within her garments. And she's bold, she's confident, she knows who she is, and she's ready to take on the world, really. So that's just a few more clips of some of the images that I have. And that is me for today.